Okay, that's not from Gravity. That's a vine from King Batch. I just had to throw that in there because when am I ever going to use that again? But here is the real trailer for Gravity.
Beautiful, don't you think?
What?
The sunrise.
Terrific.
I mean, it did a really good job of sucking people into it because it made for a really great experience going to see it on the big screen. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today, it's October 4th, 2013, and we're looking at the 4 films of that weekend. And we start off, of course, with Gravity. This is a movie about a medical engineer played by Sandra Bullock and an astronaut played by George Clooney who work together to survive after an accident leaves them adrift in space. You know, once in a while, a movie comes along like Jaws, Star Wars, E.T., Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, where somebody takes the boundaries of making movies and creates something revolutionary and amazing. Gravity is one of those movies. This is high up there with some of the best movies I've seen in a long time, and one of the best movies, and the best movie I saw that year. I mean, can't remember if I put this above 12 Years a Slave or below it, but it's close. I mean, it's really close between the two movies, but unlike 12 Years a Slave, this is the one I'll watch more and more because the subject matter isn't as heavy as 12 Years a Slave is. We'll touch on that when we get to that movie later on in the year, but not only is this movie gorgeous looking, but it's very suspenseful, and it's one hell of a movie-going experience. George Clooney and Sandra Bullock work off each other really well here. They both really do a great job acting-wise, and, you know, Bullock takes up a lot of the majority of the film's runtime, giving one of the strongest performances of her career. I mean, if anything, she should have won an Oscar for this movie and not The Blind Side, because, man, she really just makes this work. And after The Heat, you see why this woman is such a great actress, because she really just knocks it out of the park. This is only an hour-and-a-half movie, man. This is a movie that's not long at all. Like, you could watch it in the span of 2 hours, and I like the fact that it's not an over 2.5-hour movie, because it was getting too much back then. But this movie just works on every single level. The action and suspense is really good. It's very well put together. You really don't know what's going to happen when this is all said and done. It feels realistic, like something that this could actually happen out in space. And because you get so invested in the characters overall, you're just on the edge of your seat as they are. Like, you're watching this and you feel like you're Sandra Bullock and George Clooney in this situation here. Like, you're trying to hold it together and make sure you don't lose your mind because you're out in space and all that. The action and the suspense here is very well put together. You really don't know where it's going to go at the end. I just told you that. I'm reading off my review from the website here, and I just literally told you the same thing that I'm just about to tell you already. But so scratch that. Let's move on. The visual effects in this are incredible. They do a great job of making it look like this is actually shot in space. Like, it's some of the most spectacular visuals I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, that's really saying a lot. But the cinematography, fantastic, man. So the cinematography is top-notch. There are several scenes in this movie where there are just long tracking shots that just go on for several minutes. Like, Joe Wright is known for doing this with a lot of his movies, like in Atonement and Hannah. Alfonso Cuarón himself has done it with, you know, one of the great tracking shots of all time, Children of Men, where, you know, they're in the car and these guys are coming after them and they're trying to get away from them. It's all one continuous long shot, and like, they take it several steps further by having not just one long tracking shot, but several of them. I mean, he really elevates this to a whole nother level with how he does this. I mean, the first one alone is like 10 minutes long, 10 whole minutes without a single cut to another scene. And, you know, you can see why the cinematographer Emmanuel Lubezki won an Oscar for this one, because this was a movie that won 7 Oscars, including Best Director for Alfonso Cuarón, but it also won Best Cinematography. It actually was I'm reading it right here, it was actually the movie that is only second only to Cabaret in receiving the most Academy Awards in the ceremony, despite not winning Best Picture. It won Best Visual Effects, Best Film Editing, Best Original Score, Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, and of course Sandra Bullock was nominated for Best Director, as was for Best Production Design, and of course Best Picture. But, I mean, this is a movie where several of the other tracking shots are pretty long, between 3 to 5 minutes in length, but it's very impressive to see the potential that this method can be used for greater things in future projects. And I don't think a lot of people really have taken advantage of that overall, unfortunately. But the film also knows to keep it quiet at some points, taking advantage of the fact that, you know, as the famous tagline from Alien says, in space, no one can hear you scream. And in fact, in space, no one can hear anything. The film is very clever in the sound area, where the explosions take place and debris is falling, but you don't hear the debris crashing into the objects, but you could still hear the characters. Like, this is a phenomenal movie. It's a movie that I still go back to it even after all these years later, and I'm still impressed by what I saw from it. This is a cinematic achievement that was desperately needed in a year where a lot of blockbusters came out and were really just not that great. This movie made you believe that there was still hope, that the movies could take you to places you've never been before, and this is a great example of that. This is one of those examples of a movie that I would say is one of those great movie-going experiences I ever had. As I was going to touch on that, I'm talking about the movies this week, and that's one of those movies where this is definitely going to come up in that, because this is a movie that is definitely a phenomenal motion picture experience. A great story, a great characters, great action, great suspense. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a groundbreaking, revolutionary movie. Easily the best movie I saw that year, easily. I mean, it's close with 12 Years a Slave, but this is the one I would watch over and over and over again. I never get tired of it. Gravity's fucking great, man. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal film. So that's Gravity. Let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Ben Affleck, along with Justin Timberlake and Gemma Arterton, in Runner Runner.
October 4th, Runner Runner is the sexiest, coolest, most thrilling movie of the fall.
This is my favorite part right here.
Justin Timberlake, Gemma Arterton, and Ben Affleck.
You with me?
What do you think?
Runner Runner, inspired by true events. Rated R.
Look, just because you can put Gemma Arterton in a sexy red dress doesn't mean your movie is the sexiest movie ever made. I mean, it helps. I mean, look at her, man. Good Lord. Like, I don't know. I'm a guy that likes red. I mean, I mean, you can see I'm wearing red right now. We just talked about Don John the week before and Scarlett Johansson in red. Like I said, juicy and scrumptious in that movie. But this is Runner Runner. In this movie, Justin Timberlake stars as a Princeton grad student named Richie who believes he's been swindled. He travels to Costa Rica to confront an online gambling tycoon, played by Ben Affleck, and he's seduced by Block's promise of immense wealth until he learns the disturbing truth about his benefactor. When the FBI tries to coerce Richie to help bring down Block, Richie faces his biggest gamble ever, attempting to outmaneuver the two forces closing in on him. Now, the sad part about this movie is that this is Ben Affleck's first movie after he won the Oscar for Argo for Best Picture, but he was not involved in the writing of this movie, the direction of it. He's just a star in it. And also, that's kind of upsetting about this is that this is directed by Brad Furman, whose last movie was The Lincoln Lawyer, which was a phenomenal movie, which elevated which was one of the movies that really pushed Matthew McConaughey back to superstardom in terms of, in being in movies where he was legitimately acting and not just being the sex symbol in that movie. Like, the biggest problem with this movie in general is that there's a good idea for a premise here, but it's bad execution overall. This is written by Brian Koppelman and David Levian, who of course wrote Ocean's 13. They also wrote Rounders. They've done a lot of these movies about, the underground world of gambling, or just the stuff involving various things about gambling. I mean, Billions is one of those examples. They were the co-creators on that show. And they also did a show on ESPN called Tilt when they were doing scripted television back then. But this movie reminds me too much of Two for the Money, which is a very similar concept, which again starred Matthew McConaughey in it along with Al Pacino and Rene Russo. And that movie just worked a lot better than this movie did. The problem with this movie is that it's been done to death before. It's a movie that you feel like we've seen it done before so many times. It's not engaging whatsoever. There's little payoff to anything, and it wastes a really good cast. It also includes Anthony Mackie, John Hurd, the dad from Home Alone, is in here, Bob Gunton. I mean, there's a good cast involved in this movie. Ben Schwartz is in here, but like I said, it's trying to go on the visual aspect more than the actual storytelling. And as we always say here, style over substance is the type of movie that this is, and visuals don't always make the movie. And this is an example of how the visuals don't make the movie overall. Yes, it's sexy to look at if you want to see, Gemma Arterton in a red dress on us. And again, that works. But other than that, though, this is a real disappointment from all these people involved in here, especially the director coming off of The Lincoln Lawyer and Ben Affleck with his first movie after Argo came out. I mean, you expect a lot more from it, unfortunately, and it just isn't there. So, yeah, that's definitely a hard skip on Runner. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the couple of sort of independent movies that weren't the biggest draws as Gravity and Runner were, but they were out, and like I said, Lionsgate saw the success of Instructions Not Included and said, let's see what other Mexican comedies we can see if we can make a big success out of them, and they found one, and this is that film, Pulling Strings.
Any proof of income?
I recorded this CD. Wait. ¿Qué hubo, compadre? ¿Se armó? Y volteó a ver la gringa, canitas. Esa es la gringa que me negó la visa. Si la tengo conmigo, la tengo cerca, a lo mejor la convenzo de que me la dé. Papá, ¿querías tu visa?
Were those really your fans back there?
He's like Justin Bieber Mexican. But older. Yeah, and Prietor.
Pulling Strings. En cines el 4 de octubre. Clasificada PG.
So from the trailer, it kind of looks like a Mexican version of a Spanish version. I keep saying Well, technically, it's in Mexico City, but I'm reading it off of here. But the point I'm trying to make here is that this looks like a Mexican version of The Prince and the Pauper when you really look at it. But this is a movie where you have Jamie Camel, who's a single father and a struggling mariachi singer who falls for a U.S. Embassy employee played by Lauren Ramsey, while seeking a visa for her daughter. And like I said, this is a movie coming just after the success of Instructions Not Included, and unlike that movie, which was still making money for the studio at that time, this one kind of came and went, and you can kind of see why. It's just kind of a generic story in general, and it feels like a movie that's going to be a movie where it's going to go down to the whole liar revealed setup here, and it does kind of fall into that overall. It just really wasn't as fun as it could have been. I feel like there should have been something there, but it's a movie that's been done to death before. I mean, really, there's not much more I can really add to it that hasn't already been said. It's just kind of a meh movie, nothing too amazing, nothing too spectacular, just it is what it is. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie here, and that is Grace Unplugged.
Music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
Grace Unplugged is tremendous. A film families would enjoy seeing together.
There's always going to be something missing. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, now available.
Yes, we're starting to get into more Christian faith movies becoming more prevalent in this case here, and this is a movie where you have AJ Machaka, Ali Machaka's sister from Phil of the Future, but she plays an 18-year-old woman who rejects her father's desire for her to be a church singer and goes to Hollywood seeking stardom. You have a cast that also includes Shawnee Smith, James Denton, and Kevin Pollak. And this is actually a co-production of MGM and Orion Pictures, which is actually the first film during its relaunch by MGM under the banner since One Man's Hero in 1999. So I guess that's something interesting overall. But other than that, though, yeah, I don't usually get invested in these movies in general, although the reviews for this one aren't as bad as some of the other ones in general. Well, like I said, this one usually has a specific audience that they go to. I mean, for this one in particular, they actually showed it to Christian groups over 7 months as part of a wide outreach effort leading up to the release of the film. So, in a way, you already had people that had seen the film already, and the target audience pretty much saw it already, so there was really no point to going to see it on the big screen overall, and it really didn't do gangbuster business overall. It brought in $2.5 million off of a budget of $1.7 million. So they made their money back at least. But other than that, though, yeah, there's nothing really more about this film you can honestly say about it. I've never seen it, so I don't really have, excuse me. Got a random itch in my nose for some reason. It's still there. Hold on. That's so weird. That's never happened before. It's still there. That was really weird. I've never had that happen before where I got a random itch, like right around this part of my nose here. I don't know what it was. It wasn't a booger or anything. It just, I don't know. It felt weird. But what am I trying to say here? This movie brought in $2.5 million on a budget of $1.7 million. So they made their money back overall, but like I said, it looked like a movie that pretty much everybody had already seen and nobody really had the desire to go back to it overall. So, yeah, take that for what you will. But other than that, though, yeah, it doesn't look like a movie that I would have been totally interested in. But at least it looks better than a lot of the Christian-based movies that we've gotten since then. But that's not really saying a whole lot overall. So I haven't seen it, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. But it doesn't look that bad, honestly. Grace Unplugged.
Sound the alarm.
You're gonna shoot somebody! Shoot me!
I'm the captain. The Navy is not going to let you win. They would rather sink this boat.
I come too far. I can't give up.
Captain Phillips, rated PG-13.
And sadly, what's missing from that trailer is Barkhad Abdi saying the famous line, "I'm the captain now." Like, you would have thought that would have been in all the trailers, but apparently not. But welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 3 films that make up October 11, 2013, and we are starting off with Captain Phillips, which is a multi-layered examination of the 2009 hijacking of the U.S. container ship Maersk, Alabama, by a crew of Somali pirates. It is, through director Paul Greengrass's distinctive lens, simultaneously a pulse-pounding thriller and a complex portrait of the myriad effects of globalization. The film focuses on the relationship between the Alabama's commanding officer, Captain Richard Phillips, played by Tom Hanks, and the Somali pirate Captain Muse, played by Barkhad Abdi, who take him hostage. Phillips and Muse are set on an unstoppable collision course, with Muse and his crew targeting Phillips' unnamed ship. In this enduring standoff, 145 miles off the Somalia coast, both men will find themselves at the mercy of forces beyond their control. This is definitely Paul Greengrass getting back on track after Green Zone was not the big hit that he was expecting to be. I mean, that wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't as good as his other movies that he'd done with Matt Damon. But this is definitely right up there with some of his best work. A smart, powerfully acted, very tense action thriller with Paul Greengrass giving us another solid film, and Tom Hanks giving yet another great performance, and a really good star-making turn by Barkhad Abdi, who really knocks it out of the park with this performance in this. I mean, he really is. He's the one thing in this movie that really shines the most in this film. And this movie is great overall, but the one thing you take out of this movie is that, man, that Barkhad Abdi's guy is really good. And sadly, he never really did a whole lot afterwards. Even after he got nominated for an Oscar for this, he never really had any big roles coming off after this, as far as I remember. I think this is his only big role that he was ever involved in. I mean, granted, yeah, he has been in a couple of other movies, like Eye in the Sky. He was in Blade Runner 2049. He has actually done a lot more than I think I remember him for. Castle Rock, he was in that for a little bit, and then also The Curse on Showtime. So, yeah, he's been in a lot more stuff than I probably thought of, but, yeah, I kind of remember him just kind of fading out of existence after the Oscar nomination and all that, but, like I said, he's really good in the movie. You're on the edge of your seat throughout the course of the movie, because, like with Gravity, you have no idea how this is going to end up, and you know that Richard Phillips did make it out of this alive, but the film does a very good job of keeping you invested in this whole situation, how it's going to end up in the end, and it just works really well. It's an amazing thriller. It does a great job of keeping you on the edge of your seat. It's Paul Greengrass doing what Paul Greengrass does so well. What can I say, man? Captain Phillips, excellent, excellent film. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is the sequel to Machete, Machete Kills.
A madman has a missile aimed at Washington. Go kick some ass. Unstoppable. Unstable.
I didn't recruit you for your sense of compassion.
Unpredictable. Clear. He's not your average secret agent. Machete Kills.
That's what he does.
In theaters October 11th.
It's a movie with Sofia Vergara wearing guns on her boobs. I mean, what else can you expect from this movie in general? This is basically what Piranha 3 Double D should have been. A movie that just says, we don't care how stupid this gets. We're just going to go out and go crazy with it. And it delivers. And it actually is a pretty damn fun movie overall. You've got Danny Trejo once again back as Machete, who's recruited by the President of the United States, played by Charlie Sheen, to stop an arms dealer, played by Mel Gibson, and a revolutionary, played by Demian Bichir, who you remember from The Artist. Now, that's not him from The Artist, though. What else was he in? A Better Life. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting these movies. I'm getting all these movies wrong. All that, but he was in Better Life. He was also Fidel Castro and Che, but you get the idea. It's a movie where you've seen him before in a lot of things. You also have the returns of Michelle Rodriguez, Tom Savini, Jessica Alba. They're joined by Sofia Vergara and Amber Heard, Antonio Banderas, Cuba Gooding Jr., Walton Goggins, William Sadler. I mean, this is about as silly and as over the top as you can ask for. I mean, it's about as fun as the original Machete is. These are fun movies overall. They know exactly who they're targeting their audience for, and you got to go in with the right mindset overall. It's probably the best thing that Open Road Films ever put out when you really think about it. All the movies that they've done, very few films from them actually turned out to be good. And this actually is one of those ones where it's silly, it's fun, it's over the top. It knows exactly the target audience it's going for here. If you go into it with the right mindset, you can have a good time with it. And I know I did when I saw it. Yeah, it's a real fun movie. It's nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing, but it's about as silly and as fun as the original Machete is, and that's all you can ask for and then some with this film. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to this last movie here. And boy, this movie, when this was coming out, this was a pretty big deal because, yeah, someone was able to film a guerrilla-style movie in Disney World and make it a thriller, and a bizarre thriller indeed. And maybe it didn't work all the way through, but Escape from Tomorrow definitely is something that has to be seen to be believed.
People come here because they want to feel safe. Bad things happen everywhere, especially here. I can't be happy all the time.
Something's wrong with Elliot.
There's something going on here. It's this place.
You're inside my head.
You've got quite an imagination. Just like old WG himself.
Daddy, let's go home.
You know, this movie also kind of predicted the future because how many people have died in the last year at Disney World? You had the guy that committed suicide on the monorail. I mean, yeah, this is something that this is a bizarre thing that somehow it essentially predicted the future overall. But let's talk about the controversy when this was coming out, because this was a pretty big deal when it was coming out, because it first premiered in January of 2013 at the Sundance Film Festival and actually was a favorite of Roger Ebert, who showed it later on in the year in his 15th annual film festival in Champaign. But it drew attention because the director Randy Moore had shot most of it in location at Walt Disney World and Disneyland without the permission of the Walt Disney Company, and due to Disney's reputation of being protective of their IP, the cast and crew used guerrilla filmmaking techniques to avoid attracting attention, such as keeping their scripts on iPhones, shooting on handheld video cameras similar to those by park visitors. And then after the film was completed, Moore was so determined to keep the project a secret from Disney that he actually edited it in South Korea, of all places. And Sundance similarly declined to discuss the film in detail before it was shown, calling it the ultimate guerrilla film. And many expressed strong doubts that the film would even be shown to a wider audience due to the legal issues involved and the negative depictions of the parks. And at the time of its premiere, Disney said they were only aware of the film, since that the online supplement to Disney A to Z, the official encyclopedia, had included an entry for the film. But they decided, rather than trying to fight the film and suppressing it, they basically chose to ignore it, and the film ended up coming out. It was released on video on demand around this time, and then shortly afterwards was released on DVD. And I mean, it's a very interesting storyline when you really think about it, what this movie went through here. But that's just as crazy as the actual film itself, because yeah, it is a really odd movie. So in this, it's a black comedy where you have a guy named Jim who's an unsatisfied middle-aged man on vacation with his family at Disney World, and while his family frolics around the park and is enthralled with the sights and sounds of Disney, Jim is busy following two French women he lusts for. The park environment soon turns into something more sinister as Jim discovers. Jim must protect his adventurous kid's angry and suspicious wife and defend himself against the happiest place on Earth. So yeah, this is the movie strange and bizarre that everyone makes it out to be. Is it a masterpiece of filmmaking? Well, it's certainly strange and bizarre, but a masterpiece? not so much. I mean, I'll give it this. Like I said, the whole movie is shot very nicely for a film that was filmed with iPhones and handheld video cameras and all that. The fact that they took a place like Walt Disney World, which can be a fun place overall, it takes your mind off the problems of the world. Yeah, it might be too much for some people, but every time I go down there, I'm always having a good time because it's just like I could take my mind off the stuff that's going on in my life and just have a good time down there. But the fact that they took this and turned it into this world that is so bizarre and strange, it's so inventive, and it shows off a lot of great promise for this director overall, which sadly I don't think he ever did anything after this. I think this might have been his overall magnum opus. But yeah, this guy hasn't really done anything since then, unfortunately, and maybe that's for the best, because how do you top a movie like this? The one element that keeps this movie from being an all-around classic that everyone needs to see is that its main characters are pretty bland and forgettable, especially Jim, played by Roy Abersam, who's basically a dumber version of Kevin Spacey's character in American Beauty in a way. Like, the wife is annoying, the kids are not really great actors, it's hard to root for these people to survive the craziness that's going on if we can't buy into the characters at all with the predictable consistencies that carry throughout the film. What does keep the movie going is the creepy and inventive visuals the film brings us. I mean, that's what's selling the movie here. It's a lot of the visuals that are reminiscent of just stuff like, you know, the films of David Lynch or Roman Polanski or even Stanley Kubrick. There's shots in this movie that are feeling very Kubrick-esque, like A Clockwork Orange and Eyes Wide Shut. We're talking about on that level. Now, everyone's been wondering whether or not the director believes everything he put on screen, or was it just made a movie. And I like to think he just made a movie, because granted, Disney World and Disneyland are far from being the happiest places on earth. I mean, we just talked about it at the beginning of this, but I don't think the guy has a big enough grudge against the park to make it look bad, and clearly wanted to try something new and different with it, with a unique and inventive guerrilla-style movie here. And I think for the most part, he definitely succeeded in that. It's a uniquely and bizarre creative movie that gets a lot of its entertainment value from its inventive premise and its Kubrick-esque visual style to it. If there had been better characters overall and given more depth instead of just them going the predictable route you expect them to go on. Ooh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Let me start that sentence again. If the characters were more detailed and given more depth, instead of them just going the predictable route, then this probably would have been an underrated masterpiece. But as it is, it's a movie that is a fascinating thing to watch overall. It's very inventive, very creative, and it's worthy of a movie that's worth owning on, whether it's on physical media or digital. But don't expect it to become an underground classic overall. It's a fascinating watch overall, but it's not a film that's going to be a groundbreaking film overall, a film that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. It's a curiosity watch, to say the least. Watch it once, have a good time with it, see how you feel about it, see how unique and impressive you look at it. But yeah, that's how I feel about it overall. A fun film, definitely not an all-around masterpiece, but definitely one of the more inventive and interesting movies we've had in a long, long time. So it's definitely worth a watch on that front. Escape from Tomorrow.
This was always such a peaceful town.
I don't want to use the word conspiracy, but that's what it's looking like.
Her mother was a fanatic. I don't know how she lived with her.
She believes something supernatural happened here that defies logic and explanation.
There's one thing no one seems to understand. She wasn't some monster. She was just a girl.
Ah, yes, the old "my baby never hurt nobody" motif. But you didn't know that because you don't know this person very well, apparently. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. We have a lot of movies to get to today, 7 to be exact, for this October 18th, 2013. And we are starting off, of course, with the biggest of the releases, and that is the remake of Carrie. This one stars Chloe Grace Moretz as the character of Carrie, and it's essentially a modern reimagining of the original story about a shy girl outcast by her peers and sheltered by her deeply religious mother, played by Julianne Moore in this one, who uses her telekinetic powers with devastating effects after falling victim to a cruel prank at her senior prom. The cast also includes Judy Greer, Portia Doubleday, Gabriella Wilde, Anson Elgort, and Alex Russell among the cast, and is directed by Kimberly Pierce, who gave us Boys Don't Cry, and before this did Stop Loss. And this was co-written by Roberto Aguirre Sacasi, who is one of the main writers on Glee, which is both a pro and a con of this movie in general. This isn't a bad movie per se. It's just, most people agree it's kind of an unnecessary reboot, because really, they're only making this because Carrie is a name. Carrie is something that people will, MGM thinks will come to see. I mean, this is their third time trying to make Carrie into a franchise. I mean, they tried to do it with, excuse me, I lost my train of thought there for a second, but they did it with The Rage Carrie 2, which was a big flop, because it came out 23 years after the original Carrie. It wasn't even a Carrie sequel directly. It was another movie, but they decided to put Carrie 2 in there to try to sell it to people. They tried to do an NBC TV show with a TV movie that came on in 2002, and that didn't work out. And even before then, there was a Carrie musical in the 80s that didn't perform very well. So they've tried to make Carrie into a franchise for the longest time. And the original Carrie just works because it's a straightforward story. It didn't need a continuation. And it just is a movie that still holds up after all these years later. Stuff like this does not. And this movie, it's trying. Chloe Grace Moretz is a perfect casting choice for Carrie. And Julianne Moore does a good job as the mother in here. But they don't do anything new or different with it overall, except just make it a modern setting, have YouTube and the internet be a big part of it all. But other than that, there's nothing about this movie that's worth it. It's not even scary. It's not even engaging overall, because you know everything they're going to do, because this movie is so lazy in terms of what it's trying to do. Like, it's literally copying and pasting the other movie, except add in the internet, add in the modern world of 2013 into this, and it just didn't work overall. And the actors are trying in here. They're trying their best to keep it together, but it just didn't work in the end. It's a major, major misfire, and just a movie that just didn't work as well as they wanted it to do. Certainly not one of the worst horror remakes ever, but definitely one of the more unnecessary ones, so not much more to say about that one. That is Carrie for you. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger in Escape Plan.
The most dangerous and escape-proof prison ever built is called the Tomb.
The people who paid for you to be here want you here forever.
Someone set me up, and I'm gonna find out why. Okay. I'm gonna burn this place to the ground.
Schwarzenegger.
Back away.
Escape Plan. Rated R. Opens Friday.
Speaking of movies that seem very familiar, yeah, Lock Up much? Sylvester Stallone literally did a movie like this about being falsely accused of and going to prison and trying to get out of there, except this time it's a futuristic setting where, you have... the plot of this is that you have Sylvester Stallone is a lawyer turned prison security tester who is incarcerated in the world's most secret and secure prison and recruits a fellow inmate played by Schwarzenegger to stage a breakout. So yeah, it's a movie that we've kind of seen done before overall, but it's actually the first time that you've had Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger as co-leads in a movie, and that's one of the more impressive things about the movie in general here. This isn't a bad movie overall, it's just a film that, again, kind of like a Carrie, it's been done to death before, but the action overall, the overall movie is not that bad overall. The action is a ton of fun. Jim Caviezel plays a kind of fun, over-the-top villain in this. Curtis Jackson's also in here, 50 Cent. Vinnie Jones, Vincent D'Onofrio, Amy Ryan. And it is cool to see Schwarzenegger and Stallone together as a duo in a movie, and it's kind of fun to see them in this one here in general here. It's a movie that knows exactly what it is. It's a film that knows that it's going to be a very silly, over-the-top movie, not meant to be taken seriously by any way, shape, or form. They got the director of 1408, Michael Hofstrom, directing this movie. I mean, it is what it is. It's a movie where you look at it and go like, okay, I know what I'm going into here. And it delivers what it promises for the most part here. Is it a great movie? No, not really. But it's definitely a film that I would say, if you love Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies, this is one that's definitely worth the watch for at least one time only. But other than that, though, there's really not much more to say about it, except that it's a fun movie, definitely good for one-time watch. But other than that, though, that's about it. I've never seen the sequels, the Escape Plan sequels, and quite frankly, I never want to see them, because why would I want to do that? I mean, this one looks fine as it is, and direct-to-video sequels don't usually pan out that well when it comes to action films like this, so So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Disney trying to copy the success of The Social Network with hey, they did the movie about the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, or we're going to do a movie about the founder of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. This is the Fifth Estate.
They want to change the world.
He can do whatever the hell he wants.
If you want to do this, you have to do it now.
He may have leaked the whole database.
Oh my God. 12 million people have seen that video. Still want to tell me you think it's just a little website?
There are lives at risk.
This is information the world needs to know.
He's not a journalist. He's a threat to national security. They're coming after us.
We need to be careful who we trust.
Let's take the fight to them.
Have to go. 5 seconds.
The Fifth Estate. Rated R. In theaters October 18th.
Yeah, it's not a good sign when even Julian Assange himself is emailing Benedict Cumberbatch to say, please don't do this. I'm begging you not to do this. And lo and behold, the end result was not what they expected it to be. And quite frankly, it's not hard to see why. The story begins as WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and his colleague Daniel Domitschberg, played by Daniel Bruhl from Rush, team up to become underground watchdogs of the privileged and powerful. On a shoestring, they create a platform that allows whistleblowers to anonymously leak covert data, shining a light on the dark recesses of government secrets and corporate crimes. Soon they are breaking more hard news than the world's most legendary media organizations combined. But when Assange and Berg gain access to the biggest trove of confidential intelligence documents in U.S. history, they battle each other at a defining question of our time. What are the costs of keeping secrets in a free society, and what are the costs of exposing them? I think the better question is, how long until you can copy a much more popular movie until people realize, okay, motherfucker, we're not falling for this again. This is literally The Social Network all over again, and they didn't even try to hide it. They really did not. This movie is so lazy. Like, this movie literally feels like a film that was made because The Social Network was such a big success, and everyone had to be like, okay, we gotta have our own movie about a revolutionary person of the time. So let's do it with Julian Assange, which, I mean, to Benedict Cumberbatch's credit, he's the one thing holding it together. He's fine in this. He's given the best thing about the film. But other than that, though, everything else about this is just lame. It's a lousy movie. It's a boring movie. It's not fun. It's not engaging overall. Everybody else is really half-assing it. This movie feels like it's begging for an Academy Award, and it's not getting anywhere near the Oscars in general. In fact, Benedict Cumberbatch will be in a much better movie that we'll get to in a little bit here that won the Oscar for Best Picture, but certainly it isn't this garbage here, because, yeah, this movie is pretty bad. Like I said, Cumberbatch isn't bad in it. It's just not a good movie overall here. It's just a really lazy film. It's not entertaining. It's not as fun as The Social Network was. It doesn't have that quick-witted writing style of Aaron Sorkin, nor does it have the unique filmmaking style of David Fincher. And it's just not in here with this movie. Even though Bill Condon can be a good director every once in a while, this ain't it, man. This is a film that is pretty bad overall, and just quickly came and went, and really, it's not hard to see why, because it is not a very good film, So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and I have not seen this next one here, but I've seen the trailer for it, and yeah, it looks even worse than you could possibly imagine. It's a film called I'm in Love with a Church Girl.
God doesn't care about what you've done in your past. He just wants you to come as you are.
Adrian Beinbone, Jeff Ja Rule Atkins, and Stephen Baldwin.
That's everything you need to know. If Stephen Baldwin is one of your big stars in the movie, you know you're in a film that's not really meant to be seen by a wide audience in general here. But Miles Montenegro, played by Jeff Ja Rule Atkins, I mean, I guess he really thought this was going to be his Academy Award-winning performance in this, but no, it's not that. It's Miles Montego, I'm sorry, not Montenegro, although Montenegro probably would have been a much more interesting name, but Miles Montego has it all. Cars, boats, good looks, mansions, money, women, but more importantly, he has a past. Miles is a retired, high-level drug trafficker who is now completely legitimate. Even though Miles has turned over a new leaf, the DEA can't seem to let him out of his sights. Miles' only downfall is that he's extremely loyal to a circle of friends and former colleagues who are not retired from a lucrative business. Struggling to keep on the right side of the law, Miles meets the one girl of his dreams, but she's not the usual type of girl that he's used to dating. It's Vanessa, played by Adrienne Bailon from the Cheetah Girls. And I guess she was also banging Rob Kardashian at that point, because I think she was like keeping up with the Kardashians at some point. But She's a cherished goal in every sense of the word. They're tested to the last ounce of faith and strength in God and each other. God continues to chip away at Miles through struggles from his past, having to live up to his reputation, feelings of unworthiness, the death of his mother, federal charges, his friends being indicted, the strain on his relationship with Vanessa, almost losing her in a near-fatal car accident, and finally the spiritual breakdown and one-on-one with God that brings Miles to his knees. But don't worry, folks, it's not too serious because it's rated PG, so you're not going to see anything in the PG-13 R-rated category for a film like this. No, no, no. Not with a cast that also includes Vincent Pastore, T-Bone, and Michael Madsen, as well as Martin Kove, from the Karate Kid movies. And just like, wow. I've never seen this movie, nor do I ever plan on seeing it, but I kind of feel like I have to because this is a movie that just seems so awful on so many levels. A movie that looks like it makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. Like a film that someone just had an idea to say, let's get whatever stars we can get right now. I mean, if your biggest star in the movie is Ja Rule in 2013, then just abandon your project right there, because there's abandon all hope ye who enter here. And of course the Christian media is going to love it because they don't believe the mainstream media gives them the attention they deserve. Well, we do, except when you make better movies than this, because this is not a movie that I feel like this movie wants to be like the Fireproof and the Courageous for them, but there's a difference. Fireproof and Courageous actually had something to them, and not this pile of garbage here. From this trailer that I'm looking at here, I mean, it's probably not a good movie overall. To continue the point there, guess how long ago this was shot? It completed production in November of 2010. It came out on October 18th, 2013. I think we pretty much know how this movie's going to turn out here. So, I don't know anything about this movie overall. I just think it looks like it's a terrible movie, and So, let's go ahead and move away from this and get to easily the most recognizable movie of the weekend, one of the best movies of the year, one of the Best Picture winners, the Best Picture winner of the year. I don't know why I was going with that, but let's get away from this movie here, and let's talk about 12 Years a Slave.
Film audiences and critics everywhere are boldly embracing. I love you, Bobby. 12 Years a Slave is the winner of the Golden Globe Award, Producers Guild Award, and Critics' Choice Award for Best Picture of the Year.
There is no justice in this slavery.
Nominated for 9 Academy Awards, including Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Director, and Best Picture of the Year. Don't miss the triumph of 12 Years a Slave. Rated R. Now playing everywhere.
Yes, go ahead and show Brad Pitt's only scenes in the movie. I'm not even kidding. Like, that's just the sum of the parts that he's in the final 20 minutes of this movie. Like, he's not in this movie as much as this trailer makes it out to be. But anyway, this is the Best Picture winner of the year, 12 Years a Slave. Based on the incredible true story of one man's fight for survival and freedom in the pre-Civil War United States, Solomon Northup, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, is a free black man from upstate New York and is abducted and sold into slavery. Facing cruelty personified by a malevolent slave owner portrayed by Michael Fassbender, as well as unexpected kindness, Solomon struggles not only to stay alive, but to retain his dignity. In the 12th year of his unforgettable odyssey, Solomon's chance meeting with a Canadian abolitionist, played by Brad Pitt, will forever alter his life. And, this is one of those movies that I keep talking about this film, kind of on the same vein as Schindler's List in general here. But, it's a movie that really it's great. It's one of the best movies of the year, but I freely admit, this is a film I very rarely watch over and over again. Even though this is a fantastic film, this really is one of the best movies of the year, and marks another winner for director Steve McQueen, following Shane that came out a couple years prior. And it gives Chiwetel Ejiofor the chance to prove to everybody that he can lead a movie, and his struggles to survive in the movie are amazing to watch. This is his movie, and he takes the opportunity to shine in it overall in this. I mean, everybody else is doing a good job in this. Michael Fassbender, definitely deserving of that Oscar nomination he got for Best Supporting Actor. Brad Pitt, even though it's a very small scene, it's a good scene. Benedict Cumberbatch is really good in here too, and a much better movie than The Fifth Estate. But of course, Lupita Nyong'o, everyone talks about her in this because she won the Best Supporting Actress Oscar in this, and it's not hard to see why, because she's fucking amazing in this. I mean, this is a great actress all the way through. Like, we've seen it all through the years since then, but she definitely deserved to win the Oscar for this one, because she does give the best performance in this behind Ejiofor. The script by John Ridley is nicely done. It sticks very close to the original source material, which is very rare for a film adaptation based on that book. Hans Zimmer's score is very well done, with a little bit of an homage to Inception in there, too. The cinematography is very good as well. And like I said, this is a very hard movie to watch. And I mean hard to watch. The whole movie shows that what has happened to this guy was wrong, what has happened to these people is wrong, and the way that we treated them back then is wrong. And the hardest part of this of watching this is just seeing everybody getting whipped. And in most movies, you hear the whipping noise, but you don't usually see the effects except for like rope burns. But here, they get graphic, man. Like, not only do you see the rope burns, but you see Ejiofor and Nyong'o getting whipped so hard that you see blood and chunks of their skin being splattered. And when that happens, that's when the movie just becomes so gut-wrenching to watch, man. And the worst part of it all is that we as a society let this happen. It's hard to believe that we lived in a time when this was once considered okay. That's what makes those scenes all the more gut-wrenching to watch, knowing that this was a real thing. It is really fucked up in a way. And that's why I consider it to be kind of like the Schindler's List for this generation. It's a great movie, but man, it's hard to watch on multiple occasions because of the elements brought in that actually happened and what were considered common at the time. I mean, Schindler's List is pretty much the same thing. You know, you had all these people being taken away from their homes by these terrorists and these people who were killing them. You know, it was just a really hard thing to watch in general. In that case, in general here, and yeah, it's very much the same thing with this movie. It's But it does give, like I said, it does give the film a good job of giving Chiwetel Ejiofor a chance to shine as a leading man. The performances overall are great. The characters are well done. The cinematography is great. The story is well done. The music is well done. But it is a movie that it's very hard to watch on multiple occasions just because of the source material overall. But it should not be understated how good this movie is. This is very high up there with one of the best movies of the year. This is easily up there in general with that. This is a film that does need to be seen to see how how we let this happen in the world and how this guy got a happy ending out of it, at least, or a way out of it, at least. But it can be hard to watch, yes, but you come out realizing that the filmmakers really did care for the source material for this and the motivation of what they were trying to do here and wanted to bring it to life the best way they can. And that's exactly what they did here. It's a movie that takes a lot of chances, and it pays off big time in a big, big way for this. I can't recommend this one enough. 12 Years a Slave, outstanding movie. Plain and simple, but yeah, it's one of those ones where it's going to be really, really hard to watch on multiple occasions, but you see why it won the Best Picture, and I personally would have liked to see Gravity win it, but this movie's about as good as Gravity, so I'd be willing to take that as a consolation prize. So anyway, yeah, that's 12 Years a Slave. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Robert Redford starring in All Is Lost. The movie that makes you realize, oh yeah, the dude who directed Kraven the Hunter can actually make a good movie. Because yeah, this is directed by J.C. Chandor, and yeah, needless to say, he made not only a good movie, but a pretty damn underrated gem from somebody we had just lost recently with Robert Redford. So deep into a solo voyage into the Indian Ocean, an unnamed man, played by Redford, wakes to find his 39-foot yacht taking on water after a collision with a shipping container left floating on the high seas. With his navigation equipment and radio disabled, the man sails unknowingly into the path of a violent storm. Despite his success in patching the breached hull, his mariner's intuition, and a strength that belies his age, the man barely survives the tempest, using only a sextant and a nautical map to chart his progress. He is forced to rely on ocean currents to carry him into a shipping lane in hopes of hailing a passing vessel, but when the sun relenting, sharks circling, and his meager supplies dwindling, the ever-resourceful sailor soon finds himself staring his mortality in the face. So yeah, this is a movie that combines a little bit of Life of Pi from the year before, and a little bit of also Open Water, too. And it's basically a new take on the story of the Old Man and the Sea, which is pretty much the same story in general here, but it really is one of Robert Redford's most underrated movies, if not his most underrated film in general, because yeah, it's a movie where it's just him all throughout the course of the movie, and you're so invested on how he's going to get out of this situation. Like, what's his motive? What's his plan here? He's trapped out in the middle of the ocean. He has no way to contact anybody, and it's really harrowing and engaging what they're able to do with this film in general here. They did a phenomenal job with this film. It's a terrific movie and a real good showcase for Robert Redford, who barely has any lines in this movie. Like, this is a film where he really does not have a whole lot of lines. At any time he tries to get, he'll have a couple lines here and there, but it's mostly relatively quiet with him overall. And, you're just watching his acting in this, and you just see that, like, let's put it this way. There's only 51 spoken English words in this movie by Redford. That's how much of a silent film this movie is, and it's an intriguing concept overall, and we don't see a lot of movies usually do that, honestly. We don't have a movie like this where there is very limited dialogue. I mean, Wall-E was a good example of that. Bambi, my favorite movie of all time, does that. Like, more movies like this definitely need to be something that has to be the norm in here. Yeah, some people would look at this and say, like, oh, it's just another Life of Pi movie. Well, yes, and also no. Like, yeah, this doesn't have the visual flair of Life of Pi overall, or the sense of overall happy enjoyment throughout the course of it, but it's still a really good movie, and one that sadly has not gotten as much attention as I think it should have. It's a movie that really should have been more talked about when Redford passed away earlier this year. It's a really damn good movie, and one that is very underrated, one that definitely needs to be seen out there. And yeah, with Redford now gone, this is now your opportunity to see one of his more underrated gems of a film, because this really is that type of a film. So yeah, I recommend All Is Lost. It's definitely worth it. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, which is Daniel Radcliffe and Dane DeHaan in Kill Your Darlings.
Another lover hits the universe. The circle is broken.
Yeah, it's a little pretentious for its own good. This is a story about the college days of some of the earliest members of the Beat Generation. Lucien Carr, Allen Ginsberg, William S. Burroughs, Jack Kerouac, their interactions and Carr's killing of his longtime friend David Kamerer in Riverside Park in Manhattan, New York City. The cast also includes Ben Foster, Michael C. Hall, Jack Houston, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Elizabeth Olsen, who else? David Raish, Kira Sedgwick. So there is a good cast involved in this movie, but yeah, there are definitely times in this movie where it does feel like a movie that has its head so far up its own butt and wants to be seen as kind of pretentious overall. I mean, not to the level of something like David Cronenberg's Cosmopolis from the year before, but close. I mean, not enough to say that it's a great movie overall, but it does give you a chance to see some good acting performances from both Daniel Radcliffe and Dane DeHaan outside of what they were doing around the time. It's definitely, I think this was actually, if this wasn't one of Radcliffe's first big performances outside of Harry Potter on the big screen, it's one of his earliest ones, as far as I know. But this is Dane DeHaan coming just before he stars in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and coming off of Chronicle. So yeah, there's definitely some things about the movie that work overall. But other than that, though, it's one of those movies that's not a real rush out to see it type of film. It's only a type of film I would say see it to see these people that you know as these bigger characters that you know in a much smaller role. So that's the only real reason I would suggest this film. But other than that, though, there's no reason to watch this movie overall. It is kind of bland and kind of pretentious at times, but I don't know. I mean, that's just my thoughts on it. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Kill Your Darling.
Where are we going?
Keep going straight. You're getting tired?
Yeah. We shouldn't drink so much. Are we gonna get in trouble for this?
They won't notice a thing. That's how it looks most of the time anyway. Whoa. I'm taking you to your dad so he can look after you. Come on, let's have some fun.
You gonna fix that penguin, bro?
Nope.
Grandpa, this thing doesn't work.
Oh, God. Nothing. Oh! Oh!
I'm hungry.
Follow my lead.
Okay, Grandpa?
Where'd you?
Take that child away from me.
I'm sorry.
You are sorry. You're sorry as hell.
You're very pretty when you're
pissing
mad.
me off.
Thank you for being here today.
What's your stripper stage name?
I look like a stripper?
I'll just call you Cinnamon.
Want to have some fun?
Yeah.
You're a pretty little girl, got it?
One of these girls is a grandpa.
Is that weird?
We just never seen it, so it's different.
Oh. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt. I'm 86 years old. Don't hurt. Swing it.
Man, give that kid a lot of credit for going for that. I mean, this kid, Jackson Nicole, I mean, I got to give him a lot of props for that because he probably got beat up. He probably got beat up for that in school after this movie came out. But, hey, I like the fact that he just went in on it and went for it. Maybe he didn't get beat up for it, but, hey, anybody who has the balls to do something like that when you is at that age, kudos, man. I give you a lot of credit for that. But welcome to Time About the Movies. We are taking a look at the films of October 25th, 2013, 3 of them to be exact. And the biggest of the 3 new releases is, of course, Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa. Johnny Knoxville reprises his Jackass role as 86-year-old Irving Zisman, and it's the story of a crotchety old man unexpectedly saddled with the care of his 8-year-old grandson, Billy, played, as I said, by Jackson Nicole. The 2 generations of troublemakers soon develop a bond as they hustle their way across the heartland of America on an outrageous road trip with a whole lot of hijinks and pranks on unsuspecting real-life people, all of whom have no idea they were starring in a truly shocking hidden camera comedy. So basically take the idea of that Family Guy episode where Stewie and Peter had to bond, and they bond by beating the shit out of Lois, and add that to the fact that this time it's not Peter, it's an 86-year-old man, and Stewie's an 8-year-old kid, and this time it's not just Lois but everybody else around them. And this movie works where a film like Action Point failed to work, when you mix real stunt work with the Jackass crew, with a film script, and for the most part succeeding very well. The comedy is very funny. The story is nicely done. There are some good heartfelt moments in this, and that beauty pageant scene is just pure comedy gold, man. Like, you thought the Little Miss Sunshine bashing of the beauty pageants of little kid beauty pageants was rough. It's like Jeff Tremaine saw that and said, I like this idea, but I can go ahead and make it even more gonzo insane. And sure enough, what they show you there in that trailer is definitely more insane than it is in the movie itself. And it's a ton of fun. It's hilarious. It's well done. I mean, I got nothing else to say to you about this one here. This is a great movie. It's a fun film overall. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. Also, noteworthy, this is actually the only Jackass movie that's ever gotten an Oscar nomination for Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Unfortunately, it lost to, I think, Gravity, but hey, that's something I didn't even think that was possible with a Jackass movie. But lo and behold, hey, these movies do have a good job with the old man makeup overall. So, what more can I say, man? It's about as much fun of a Jackass movie as you could possibly imagine. It's a great movie. It's a great, great film. The next film, not so much. It's Ridley Scott's The Counselor.
I intend to love you until I die.
Me first.
You may think there are things that these people are simply incapable of. They are not. You won't see it coming.
The Counselor.
Have you been bad?
Rated R.
Well, I don't know about him, but I know one thing that's bad in this. The whole movie. You have Michael Fassbender as the title character, as well as Penelope Cruz, Cameron Diaz, Javier Bardem, and Brad Pitt, and the extremely violent, bloodthirsty activities of drug cartels are depicted as the counselor, a high-level lawyer, gets involved in a drug deal around the troubled Ciudad Juarez, Mexico-Texas border area. This is Ridley Scott teaming up with Cormac McCarthy, Cormac McCarthy, of course, is the writer of No Country for Old Men. He actually wrote the script for this movie, and I think this is actually an original movie. Maybe it's not an original novel, but certainly is not a good movie. And it's one of those movies where you can see what they were trying to do with it, but it's just all over the place in its ridiculousness. There's too good of a cast in here, kind of wasted on the fact that there's really not a whole lot there in terms of an identity, what they're trying to do story-wise, how sleazy do they want to be. There's literally a scene where Cameron Diaz is, like, on the cusp of having sex with a car with Michael Fassbender inside of it. And why is she doing it? To be like a David Lynch type of movie, I don't know, but it's weird. It feels like it's absolutely unnecessary to be in this movie, and it's just a weird movie that just does not work at all. Like, the actors are trying their best with it, but there's no real sense of a story in this. Everybody's acting like they've been given a specific character training to say just go with it, and it just didn't work for me. It's a movie where it's just so all over the place. It's trying too hard to be sleazy. It doesn't know what kind of an identity it wants to have overall, and it just doesn't work as a film. It's just a real sloppy mismatch of a movie, but certainly not as bad as some of Ridley Scott's later movies, that's for sure. It just didn't work as a film. It was so much more left on the table that they just pushed off to the side, and yeah, it just didn't work as a whole. So yeah, that's my thoughts on The Counselor. Not a good movie, and like I said, certainly not the worst of what Ridley Scott would bring to the table in the rest of the decade after that, but yeah, not one of his stronger films overall. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here. Certainly a very intriguing movie, to say the least, for a number of different reasons. Blue is the warmest color.
Talked about film of the year that critics are calling stunning, sexy, passionate. A masterpiece, intensely erotic. It's one of the best movies about love I've ever seen. Blue is the warmest color. In select theaters Friday. Rated NC-17.
I always thought it was just blue is the warmest color, but no, it's the couleur, like, because it's a French film. But this is a very interesting movie, to say the least, because of A, the subject matter, B, the supposed real sexuality the film offers, and some of the controversies behind the scenes of the film. But you have Léa Seydoux from Midnight in Paris and Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, and Adelaide Exarchopoulos, I think that's right. And it follows Adele, a French teenager who discovers desire and freedom when Emma, an aspiring partner, enters her life. It depicts their sexual relationships from Adele's high school years to early adult life and career as a school teacher. It's based off of a graphic novel of the same name. Now, this was a movie that had apparently over 800 hours of footage, including extended B-roll footage that the director Abdelafti Kichichi, I think it is. I'm butchering these names, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, they had to trim it down from that to a 3-hour movie, and it actually generated controversy, much of it because of the allegations by the crew and the lead actresses of poor working conditions on set, as well as the film's raw depiction of sexuality. I mean, there was a lot of concerns about the graphic sex in the movie. There was actually fake genitalia used in this movie. But yeah, a lot of people got really, they didn't really know how to feel about this, because some people said this is like real lesbian sex in real life. This is how lesbian sex supposedly is in real life, but then you have people who are just like, that's going way too far, man. It's just like it was also debated about the scissoring aspect of it. Just like, yeah, there's definitely a lot of question marks about this movie. But I mean, if you're looking for an erotic lesbian drama and you want to see these two girls banging, I mean, here you go. That's the movie for you. And I mean, it's an interesting movie, to say the least, but I'm not going to say it's a great movie. I think it's a very flawed film in general in terms of the sexual aspects of it. But I mean, the relationship aspect is really good. The two actresses really make it work overall. Seydoux and Exarchopoulos, I think, work well as a couple in here. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this is a great movie by any means necessary. It's a movie. It's the type of movie that, if it's on Cinemax late at night, when Cinemax was the thing, you're going to watch this movie to watch the sex scenes in that. Or if you really want to see the sex scenes, just go and watch the scenes on Celebrity Movie Archive. I mean, or these other websites that have all the erotic sexual movie scenes on there, because there's really no reason to watch the film, because the people that are going to watch this movie are going to watch it for the sex scenes. They're not going to watch it for the story in general, which, like I said, the two leading actresses are good in here, but the fact that you're sitting in here for 3 hours, it's too much. Like, it feels way too much overall. A very mixed bag of a movie for me. There's parts of it that I do like, But there's a lot of it that's really stuff that could have easily been cut down to like half the time of this movie in general. I mean, there's no reason a film like this needs to be 3 hours long, in my opinion. So, yeah, very mixed opinion on blue is the warmest color. But I mean, it is a fascinating thing to watch in terms of just to see how you'll feel about it. Because some people I think will like it, some people I think will hate it. It's one of those movies where it's a pick your poison type of film. You're gonna either love it or you're either gonna hate it. Me personally, kind of in the middle, say the least. So anyway, yeah, that's Blue is the Warmest Color.